Hello everyone, Mrs. Hunter here. I hope you're all doing fantastic. In this video, we're going to get all the nitty-gritty details about the persuasive speech. Let's go over a few classroom guidelines as well as a few things from your textbook that I want to emphasize as you're beginning to prepare and present, okay? And also as you're beginning to get your topics approved. So I hope you have all had an opportunity to go ahead and review the chapter in your book on persuasive speaking, chapter 10. It has all of the details on how to successfully prepare and present a persuasive speech. First things first, in persuasive speaking, the ultimate goal is to influence. It's just that simple. It is to influence a change in attitude, a change in belief, or a change in behavior. You need to think about your goal. You need to start with identifying your goal. I don't know if any of you have ever heard a planner or even a professor, a teacher, or someone tell you you need to know the end from the beginning. You have to have a goal. So if you want to lose weight, you can have a goal. You can say, I want to lose 20 pounds. That's my ultimate goal. And then you might break that goal down. Okay, I'm going to start with 5 pounds per month to get to this 25 pounds. But you had to know your goal first. It is important that you do that for the persuasive speech. You need to know, what is the end goal? What do I want to accomplish with this speech? What do I want my audience to do? Because you are motivating them to action. You're influencing them to action in changing the way they think about something, in changing the way they behave about something, in changing the way they structure or believe something, okay? So you have to keep that in mind when you're preparing your speech and when you are picking your topic. That is super, super important. You only have a limited amount of time to speak to our class community, a limited amount of time. You're not going to be able to save the world with this speech. So I want you to think about this as you are, figuring out what topic you want to do and looking at the different research and the different materials, and you're putting everything together, that you know the end from the beginning. So once you have your goal, then it will be easy for you to line up your main points, look up your research, and to structure your argument. Okay, so the second thing I want you to remember, that persuasion, in persuasive speaking, you are taking a stance. You're taking a side. You're not doing a scientific method in terms of, let me see, this is my hypothesis and I'm going to see if it works or doesn't work. All right. This is my hypothesis. I'm going to see if this is good or not good. You are actually taking a stance. You are saying this is good or this is not good. We need to go left or we need to go right. Okay, you're taking a stance. You're not asking a question. And because you're taking that stance and you already know your end goal, then you are saying, this is the stance I'm taking and this is what I want my audience to do as a result of what I'm saying to them. So again, I'm reminding you that you're not going to be able to solve, whole world issues in this amount of time that you have for your speech. So you want to pick a topic and you want to pick a goal that is actually attainable. Okay, that people in our course community can actually do. All right, I want you to remember that as you're preparing. So your ultimate goal, again, is to motivate someone to do something, to motivate our audience to do something. So just like in informative speaking, you have to consider our class community. So in considering our class community, it's the same way we had to do for our informative speech. Think about what you've seen in our course. Think about the videos of your classmates that you've seen, what they were talking about, what they were interested in as you pick your persuasive speech topic. Because you could decide to pick something that you kind of know everybody's going to go along with you, or you can, be challenged and challenge people to do something extremely different. So be sure to keep your goal in mind, your end goal as you're preparing, and make sure that what you're asking the audience to do is actually attainable right now, today. Okay? You only have a little bit of time, so ask for small, easily performed behaviors. Now, the best way to conduct your persuasion is to use a motivated sequence. In this course, it goes over Monroe's motivated sequence. It gives you the 5 steps in persuasion. And you guys, if you pay attention, the 5 steps to persuasion in the motivated sequence is actually our speech outline. It's exactly that thing. So the 5 steps in the motivated sequence is, first, get the audience's attention. Then you need to establish a need for change. Then you need to define the problem, okay? So you get the audience's attention and you have to prove to us first that there is a problem. Then you have to satisfy the problem by giving a solution. Then you need to help the audience visualize what life would be like with that solution. And then you will have a call to action, what they can do right now towards your solution, okay? Oftentimes in class, students jump right to the solution without defining the problem. You have to tell us what the problem is first. You can't solve a problem if the problem is not there. So you need to make sure that you get the audience's attention. You introduce the problem. You have to kind of prove that there's an issue. Then offer the solution. Then show the audience what it would look like with your solution before you ask them to do anything. Don't just jump straight into the solution. You have to first spend a little bit of time defining the problem. Remember that as you're preparing, and set your outline up that way. You absolutely have to have a call to action. Okay, you can't just say the solution and then say, thank you for listening to me, and then cut your camera off. That's not going to work. You need to have a call to action at the end of your speech to tell the audience what they can do towards your solution. Okay, and it needs to be something tangible that they can actually turn your video off and go do. They could actually do that. And even if it's a change in thought, changing in the way they're thinking, but there's something actionable that they can do to show that. You need to make sure to include that as you're speaking. So you would have your conclusion and your call to action at the end of your speech. So as you're putting everything together, there are 3 persuasive proofs that you need to remember. Your book goes over them in detail. It's the logical, emotional, and credibility proofs. The logical proof presents evidence and facts, okay? The emotional proof relies heavily on emotions, desires, feelings, needs, and wants of the audience. And the credibility proof uses charisma, competency, and character. Now, you may be thinking, but Ms. Hunter, doesn't all those things appear in a persuasive speech? Yes, absolutely they do. They can all appear. I do see most often that you use a lot of emotion in your persuasion. So you may tell a story. You may have some personal testimony to go along with your topic. And so you do want to appeal to the audience's emotion. But then you also have to back up whatever you're saying with facts. All right. So that's where your research is going to come in. You are not going to come and just stand up and present your opinion. Okay, persuasion requires credibility. It requires facts. It requires some level of logical proof. Okay, so you have to include your sources the same way you did it for the informative speech. It is extremely important for your persuasive speech. It cannot solely be your opinion. That your research does need to be 5 years or closer, because we need to make sure that our research is relevant and recent. The final thing that I want to mention to you from your textbook that is important for you as you are picking your topic and beginning to prepare your speech are the persuasive speeches, the nature of persuasive speeches. All right, so you have 3 different types of persuasive speeches. You have fact, you have persuasion of value, and persuasion of policy. All right? When you're doing a persuasive speech of fact, you are looking at a potentially answerable question. All right, potentially answerable. I will tell you that one of my favorite persuasive speeches of fact that a student did was he stood up to prove to the class that the earth is round. You're probably like, what, Ms. Hunter? Yes, he did a speech of persuasion of fact that the earth is in fact round. And here's the reason why. Some people do not believe that the earth is round. There are really people that don't believe that. And here's the thing. This is no judgment zone. We've already established that in the very beginning of the course. This is a no judgment zone. And there are people that don't believe that the earth is round. And so he stood up and he used facts and figures and beautiful photos from NASA to prove that the earth was round. And you know what he got? An A+. And his call to action was he had people to go. He wanted people to look at a website, the NASA website, visit a planetarium, look at a couple of books, a couple of websites, and it was fantastic. Super easy. And it was like, wow, even as a teacher, I didn't think of that, So there's so many different things that you can do that's actually fun. And he said he completely enjoyed doing that speech because he was able to look up a lot of information about the earth that he was interested in. And the class absolutely loved the speech. They were like, wow. And they learned some things as well. And then we found out that there were 2 people in the class that actually were what they call flat earthers. And I thought, wow. And we asked them after the speech was over, were they persuaded? And they said, absolutely they were. So it's totally cool. All right. So there's one of my favorite speeches of fact that have been presented. So if you're looking at a speech presentation of value, you're going to be looking at issues that concern what is good or bad, moral or immoral, or even just or unjust, okay? And yes, you can still find topics in those categories in this particular question of value without doing any polarizing topics. There's so many topics that you can look at. So I hope this video helped you at least begin to start thinking about what topic you want to do, to start preparing, and go ahead. I always encourage you guys to look at your research before you decide on a topic. Go ahead and look up in the databases and see what you can find that would help support your argument. Okay, so do that, and then be sure to get your topic approval submission in as soon as possible, because the earlier you get it in, the more time you have to actually prepare your speech. Okay, of course, as always, if you have any questions or concerns, be sure to email me at chunter@robinson.edu. All right, guys, let's get started.